filled with fuel right now, continuing to fill with oxidizer. It'll be the last of the tanks to fill. Stage 1 continuing to be underway. At the 10-minute mark, you heard that call for configuring the crew displays for launch. That was confirmed. At the T-minus 10-minute mark, it also is a point where Falcon 9 launch commit criteria gets checked by the computers past that milestone. Now we're counting down to the next milestone at T-minus 7 minutes, which is setting up for engine chill.
That's right. We should hear that call out in about 44 seconds. At T-minus 7 minutes, we will actually open up the pre-valves to the M1D engines, those 9 engines at the base of the first stage. That will allow a little bit of that super chilled, densified liquid oxygen to flow into the hardware, those turbo pumps, and that basically helps prepare the hardware from a thermal standpoint or a temperature standpoint for that full flow of super chilled liquid oxygen. So we basically open up the pre-valves, and a little bit of that LOX flows in and helps cool the hardware down in preparation for full flow of liquid oxygen.
Engine chill has started.
And as expected, there's that call out for that engine chill, indicating the pre-valves are open and the engines are beginning to prepare for liftoff.
Now under 6 minutes, 45 seconds from launch, again, we're continuing to fuel the Falcon 9 rocket, stage 2, filled with the RP-1 kerosene. At the T-minus 6 minute mark, we should hear a call out that the stage 1 RP load is complete. They're just topping that off. Liquid oxygen on both the first and second stages come next.
RP-1 load complete.
And there's that confirmation. We're counting down to T-minus 5 minutes at this point. At T-minus 5, the Dragon is configured for terminal count. And at terminal count, Dragon is switched to internal power, right now receiving power from umbilical lines from the ground. Also at just under 5 minutes, we'll be waiting for strong back retract. The arm that's currently propping the Falcon 9 and Dragon up. We'll see the clamp arms start to open, and the strong back itself will tilt about 2 degrees off from where it is now at a 90-degree position. Just a little off, and then it'll get out of the way completely upon liftoff. Then, of course, comes the, after the strong back retracts, comes the completion of liquid oxygen loading on both the first and second stage. For now, T-minus 5 minutes, 15 seconds. We're going to stand by for that call of configuring for terminal count. Crew 6 in their seated positions and ready for launch.
Dragon is in configure for terminal count. Tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
All right, and we heard both of those calls. Dragon onboard computers are going to take control of the vehicle. You should be seeing the clamp arm at the very top of the second stage, right underneath where you see the unpressurized trunk of Dragon, which is indicated by the half black and half white indicators, the black being the solar panels that provide power to the Dragon on its transit to the International Space Station. Now that confirmation of strong back retract, we should be able to visually see that strong back.
The strong back will retract about 2 degrees away from the vehicle. Then at liftoff, the strong back will actually go back to 45 degrees. That strong back is part of the transporter erector, which provides the liquids and gases and electrical connections to the vehicle. As Gary pointed out, those clamp arms opened up underneath the trunk, just above the first stage. And you can see that action happening now as that initial retraction just a couple degrees away from the vehicle. At this point in time, fueling remains underway, excuse me, propellant load remains underway. All fuels are loaded. That RP1 liquid oxygen load should,
Stage 1, lock flow complete.
there we just heard that call out that is all done. Second stage LOX load still underway. That will wrap up at about T-2 minutes. Now that that first stage liquid oxygen load is complete, we'll see some more of that white gaseous cloud forming around the vehicle due to those lines being
Dragon is
closed
in
off.
terminal count and on internal power.
All right, good call out there indicating that Dragon is running on its own power. We are in the terminal count now at T-2 minutes and 29 seconds. The crew remains comfortable there on the right-hand side of your screen. About 15 seconds remaining in stage 2 LOX load.
Stage 2, lock flow complete.
Like
Dragon is in auto idle.
you heard those calls. The Falcon 9 fully fueled with RP1 rocket fuel as well as the liquid oxygen. That call of Dragon is an auto idle. There's going to be a series
Gas
of
close
calls
started. Expect rising.
as the gas closeout, purging the lines of the fuel that have supplied the Falcon 9 with RP1 and liquid oxygen. We'll also wait for a call of the arming of the flight termination system. The Dragon flight computers are configured for launch. Flight termination system will allow Falcon 9 to talk to Dragon on the ride uphill. Terminate the flight, issuing an abort.
Startup. Dragon is in countdown.
T-1 minute and counting. Dragon is in countdown. Everything's looking good for launch.
Dragon, SpaceX, go for launch.
SpaceX Dragon copy. Go for launch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 30 seconds and counting. All teams pulled go.
Fifteen seconds.
Ready for an on-time launch for the
T-minus
instantaneous
10,
run.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Engines full power and lift off at clear stage. Go Dragon, go Falcon.
Now launching on Endeavour's fourth flight to the International Space Station. Vehicle pitching downrange, 1.7 million pounds of thrust provided by the 9 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Hearing good calls, stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
We're now at T+34 seconds into the 6th rotational crew mission on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Power and telemetry nominal.
Stage 1 throttle down.
So there we heard the call out indicating that the first stage engines will begin to throttle down in preparation for max Q, which is the moment of maximum aerodynamic pressure that the vehicle will experience during flight.
Vehicle is supersonic.
That call out there indicating the vehicle's traveling faster than the speed of sound.
Max Q.
Stage 1 throttle on.
All right, now that we're past max Q,
1 Bravo.
Copy, 1 Bravo.
That 1 Bravo indicator are different abort modes that are called that allow the ground teams and the crew to track about the position of the Falcon 9 and the Dragon as they make their way up the eastern seaboard. In the event of an abort, these different abort modes would indicate about the position where Dragon
Effect
would
shield
land,
has started.
as well as indicate what series of maneuvers Dragon would indicate. But so far, we're hearing good calls on the performance of the Falcon 9 on its ride uphill. 1 minute 53 seconds into flight.
We're about 30 seconds away from main engine cutoff, which will be followed quickly by stage separation and second engine start, which is the ignition of that MVAC engine on the second stage. Now about 10 seconds away from main engine cutoff.
Two Alpha.
Copy, 2
Stage
Alpha.
separation confirmed.
There you can see on your screen confirmation of stage separation, as well as ignition of that second stage engine. Second stage is now carrying the Crew 6 astronauts to orbit. Beautiful view there on the left-hand side of your screen coming from the first stage, which, as you can see, is still gaining in altitude. It has not yet reached its apogee. A beautiful view of the Florida Space Coast there in the background.
Meanwhile, we're tracking good performance on that MVAC engine. On the screen to your right, we'll be hearing periodic performance calls about once every minute of the status of the trajectory of the second stage and the Crew 6 astronauts that are inside Crew Dragon Endeavour. We'll also be hearing
Position
call
signal,
outs,
Bermuda.
just like you heard just there, as we pass over the various ground stations along the ascent track.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
There's that performance call out.
Dragon acknowledges nominal trajectory.
As for the first stage there on the left-hand side of your screen, that first stage still gaining in altitude, although that gain is slowing down. It will be making its way back down to Earth, landing, attempting a landing on our drone ship. Just read the instructions, which is located off the Florida coast by a couple hundred miles.
The MVAC engine on stage 2 burns for 6 minutes after second stage ignition. We'll continue to see this engine burn until about 8.5 minutes into today's flight.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
SpaceX Dragon nominal trajectory.
Again, these performance calls happen once a minute. Flight teams continuing to track the Falcon 9 and its ascent. Everything's looking good so far. You'll also continue to hear those check-ins of the ground stations as we pass them.
At this point in time, we're roughly 2 minutes away from the next major event, which will be the entry burn for the first stage. We will relight 3 engines, 3 M1D engines on that first stage to help slow the vehicle down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
We're approaching 200 kilometers in altitude. It's about 124 miles. Meanwhile, velocity,
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal trajectory.
good trajectory calls, about to pass 12,000 kilometers per hour.
SpaceX Dragon acknowledges nominal trajectory.
It's about 7,500 miles per hour.
Everything looking nominal for both first and second stages. Now coming up to T plus 6.5 minutes into flight.
Mostly what we're hearing now are the performance calls in the second stage. In about a minute is when we'll see a series of events in rapid succession. It's been a pretty good pace since second stage ignition. About less than a minute from now, we'll start to see
Dragon,
more action on the
SpaceX,
first stage.
Nominal trajectory.
SpaceX Dragon, nominal trajectory.
As Gary mentioned, those callouts occurring about once every minute. Now we're about 20 seconds away from the first stage entry burn. That burn will last about 30 seconds and help slow the vehicle down as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
And there you can see
Stage 2, FTS has saved.
on your screen that first stage entry burn has begun. That booster sees high drag, which actually scrubs roughly 70% of the velocity by the time that the landing burn begins. So about another 10 seconds of this entry burn. Again, 3 engines relit, the center and 2
Stage 1
radial
entry burn
engines.
shutdown.
And conclusion of that entry burn.
Meanwhile, good performance on the second stage. Since second stage ignition, we've been in a 2 alpha abort mode. The next abort modes will happen in rapid succession to Bravo, to Charlie, Delta,
Terminal
and Echo,
guidance.
each indicating different series of maneuvers in the event of an abort scenario. But as you've been hearing through the periodic checks, we're seeing good trajectory, good performance on the Dragon and Falcon 9. SECO, second stage engine cutoff, would be coming at 8 minutes 48 seconds. Coming up on that event.
SpaceX Dragon, Shannon.
Stage
Shannon,
1
Copy,
defense on.
Shannon.
now off the coast of Shannon, Ireland. Standing by for SECO.
MVAC shutdown. Stage 1 landing burn.
And there we heard the call out indicating that landing burn.
Dragon, SpaceX. We have a nominal orbit insertion.
Great news there for
SpaceX Dragon copies nominal orbital insertion.
great
Launch
news
escape system disarmed.
for Dragon Endeavour,
Stage 1 landing leg deployed.
attempting to land on our drone ship. Just read the instructions.
Stage 1 landing is expected signal.
And there you can see on your screen, and also indicated by the cheers behind the
Signal.
successful landing of this booster. Its first trip to space, and therefore its first landing.
An eruption of applause here at SpaceX Mission Control. And of course, after second stage engine cutoff, you heard that call that the crew is in orbit. They're now in a coast phase. The second stage remains idle for about 3 minutes before Dragon separates from the second stage. Meanwhile, you can see that first stage in the legs right on target. We're now getting views from the second stage. You can see this is one of the cameras that's pointing up into the trunk of Dragon. Of course, we're continuing to get views of the expansion nozzle at the end of the MVAC engine. But the crew is in orbit. Falcon 9 has almost done its job. It completed its job with propelling the astronauts through the 6 minutes of the second stage, and of course, the more than 2.5 minutes of the first stage. Continuing in this coast period. We're heading to about the 12-minute mark after launch. So we're approaching 11 minutes right now. But it's great to see the crew in orbit. Of course, we are waiting for that separation. You can see this view right here of the MVAC engine. The second stage really in just an idle position, really just coasting, not many commands being issued from the Falcon 9. But of course, at the very end, we'll actually issue the command for separating the Dragon from the Falcon 9. You may see a series of burns. The Draco engines on the service section of the Draco will fire and increase separation distance from the second stage.
Once again, live view there from the second stage looking up into the trunk, which of course is the unpressurized section that goes along with the Dragon capsule to the International Space Station. That's where we are able to store basically cargo that is able to be exposed to the vacuum of space. So a great view there looking up into the trunk. That will be hopefully the first views that we get of that separation event, which we're expecting here any second. There you can see on your screen confirmation
Dragon separation confirmed.
of that separation confirmed. Dragon Endeavour is now floating free in space.
That's right. The Falcon 9.
Dragon, CE here. Welcome to orbit. Congratulations. Your flight is exactly 4 years after the flight of the Demo 1 mission. Like Andre said, all the best things take 2 tries. Happy that we could get you off tonight. If you enjoyed your ride, please don't forget to give us 5 stars. Over to LD for some words.
Also, a friendly reminder to put your sushi orders in for CRS 27. Have a safe ride to the space station, and we look forward to seeing you when you get home. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
Expected loss of signal, Bermuda.
And SpaceX Dragon copies all. That was fantastic. Thank you.
The Crew 6 astronauts, of course, having a strong bond.
And SpaceX Dragon, we'd like to really, for the great ride to orbit today. It's greatly appreciated. May have taken 2 rides, but a few times, but it was worth the trip. And I guess I'll pass it over to Woody for some words.
Yeah, SpaceX Dragon, just want to say as a rookie flyer, that was one heck of a ride. Thank you. I would say it's an absolute miracle of engineering, and I just feel so lucky that I get to fly on this amazing machine. Thanks to SpaceX, thanks to NASA, Commercial Crew Program, and our international partners. A lot of innovation went into this, tireless work out there, and a lot of painstaking attention to detail and focus on testing. And I think that's what makes it all possible to fly humans in space. Thank you.
Some really nice words.
Всем, ребят, за подготовку, за то, что помогали в этом деле. Мне и всем ребятам. Я хочу сказать, что сегодня человечество делает еще один шаг в подготовке к новому большому скачку. И для меня огромная честь быть частью такой большой и дружной семьи, величайшей международной команды, как Международная космическая станция, работая вместе на благо всего человечества. Today humanity takes another step for next big leap, and for me, a huge honor to be part of such a big and friendly family and the greatest international team of the ISS, working together for all mankind. Thank you.
Well said, everybody. Allow me to say a few words in Arabic first. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله وصلنا الفضاء. بس بغيت أشكر أمي وأبوي وأشكر عائلتي. شكرا للقيادة الرشيدة وشكرا لمركز محمد بن راشد للفضاء اللي أعطوني الثقة هذه. وكذلك أشكر كل من جهزنا ودربنا لهذه اللحظة التاريخية من مختلف وكالات الفضاء في أنحاء العالم. شكرا لكم جزيلا. شكرا SpaceX لإيصالنا للفضاء. I would like to say thank you for everybody. Thanks to my parents, my family. Thanks to our leadership, the Mohammed bin Rashid Space Center for their trust. Thank you for everybody who trained us and got us ready for this mission. This is incredible. Launch was incredible, amazing. Thank you so much. And last but not least, thank you NASA. Thank you SpaceX for flying us to space. Go Dragon, go SpaceX. And allow me to introduce our fifth crew member. His name is Suhail, and Suhail is the Arabic name for the star Canopus. And in the Middle East, we anticipate the appearance of Canopus because it marks the end of summer and the beginning of cool time. And Canopus is actually the second brightest star in the night sky. And this is the second flight for Suhail because he flew with astronaut Hassan Mansouri in 2019. And many people think Suhail is an alien, but to me, on Earth in a spacesuit, but with high ambitions. Thank you once again, and talk to you from the ISS.
And Dragon SpaceX, we copy all those words. At this time, I can provide you an update that we had nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts. For your awareness, on hard capture hook 5, we did swap to backup motors, so you'll see that the nose cone opening did swap to backup. However, all hooks did indicate that they were traveling and look good on backup.
Acquisition signal.
56 Dragon copies, and we see that on the display.
All right. Very dynamic time. Of course, the Falcon 9 delivering the Crew 6 astronauts into orbit after the 9-minute ascent. We heard those great congratulatory words from each and every member of Crew 6, who of course had a strong bond with the teams here in Mission Control and SpaceX. That call you did hear to the crew was about the nose cone. The nose cone is deploying now. They were troubleshooting an issue with one of the hooks, but switched to backup motors, and we're seeing that nose cone deploy now. But Crew 6 is now on its way to the International Space Station. It's going to take about 24.5 hours. So they'll go through a series of checks, a series of initial burns, and then eventually have a sleep period before waking up and really getting into the action with a lot of the burns that bring it closer and closer to the International Space Station. It'll be docking to the Zenith port. We're now getting views from the Dragon, and that's the nose cone deploying that you're seeing right now on the end of the Dragon. And Kate, this really sets the crew up for some of the major burns here. That nose cone deploying reveals the 4 forward bulkhead Dracos that do a lot of the heavy lifting, a lot of those significant burns that bring the crew closer to the International Space Station.
That's right. The nose cone is basically the pointy end at the top of Dragon. So now with that being exposed, those forward bulkhead thrusters will be able to do their job as Dragon Endeavour makes its way to the International Space Station. Just prior to losing the ground station coverage, we were able to catch a quick glimpse of the 0G indicator. I always love seeing that be revealed as it's always different for each crew and it's always special to the crew members. So I love the words that were shared around that. And I personally have a strong connection to this capsule. This was the Demo 2 capsule, the Crew 2 capsule, the Axiom 1 capsule, and now the Crew 6 capsule. And so it always brings a lot of pride and joy to see this particular capsule fly in space safely once again. So with all that being said, let's head back over to Daryl and Raja, who saw all of the liftoff action live. You guys, I bet it was incredible having seen it from the press site myself a couple of times. I know you can feel it. Tell us how it was to see this crew lift off.
Absolutely, Kate, and thank you for the toss back here to the Kennedy Space Center. And on that point, we got to get Raja's reaction first because it was his first launch. He's been on a rocket. He's been to space.
Let's see the outside.
First time watching a launch.
Yeah, that was awesome, Daryl. It was better than I expected. So I think a much more throaty, rumbling sound once it started to pitch over, and a beautiful night here, so we could see the second stage light. We could actually see the throttle down for from stage 1 to stage B, which was really cool. Saw the separation, saw the light go out when the first stage separated, saw the second stage light, and got to watch it pretty much all the way to 2 Bravo. It was pretty impressive.
To
so
2
that,
Bravo.
Yeah. Sorry, those are different launch escape phases. So yeah, it was awesome seeing it from the ground and just kind of thinking through what that ride was like a while ago. But I'd rather be on the inside than the outside. But it's pretty
in here with us.
But it's pretty impressive from both views. Yeah,
we're so glad
to
that we
see
could
them. And
share it
exciting
with
exciting that they're on the way to the space station. I'm
Oh,
so happy